Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
Listen to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Aldo's floating down the Whiskey River tonight.
Joe Giammatteo.
Yep, I'm here against doctor's orders. Ruptured kidney and all.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one episode of Raw at a time. But first, some somber news in the world of wrestling. As we record this, today is the day that it was officially announced that Scott Hall had passed away. And so we just wanted to take a minute here at the top and say that we were all here really big fans of Scott Hall and what he did in the WWF. My personal opinion is that he carried, along with a couple others, a few years of some really lean WWF rosters. So thoughts and positive feelings to Scott and all of his family. Tough news to work with here.
Yeah, definitely. Our thoughts go out to everyone involved with his friends and family, because it's pretty sad, just going in for a hip replacement and then to have complications like this take your life. That's pretty rough. I almost used this quote to open it up. I almost changed things up and didn't go with a current episode, but hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Yeah, probably one of the best Hall of Fame speeches ever. It was like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yep.
Didn't ramble on. Yeah, this one's tough. Just so many great moments. And Bartlett, like you said, he just helped carry some really tough times for the business. And then jumping ship to WCW for guaranteed money really completely changed the business for a lot of wrestlers.
And then created a faction that, again, changed wrestling.
Yeah, just a part of so many great moments. Really heartbreaking post by Kevin Nash last night, but also very noble of him to do that, because I don't know, out of respect to the family and everything, you don't want people tweeting a bunch of stupid shit. I don't know. It's pretty cool to see that, even though it was so heartbreaking. But yeah, thoughts go out to the family, obviously, and thank you, Razor.
In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on August 5th, 1996. This Raw was recorded at the Key Arena in Seattle, Washington, and features Vince McMahon and Jim Ross on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. There's no preamble to tonight's show, no lead-ins. Jim Ross is on commentary here with Vince McMahon, and it was great to hear Jim rattling off the names of the participants of that 11-man battle royale that we've got going on later on.
Oh, and whose name did we catch in there?
You wouldn't happen to be referencing the mild man Mark Marrow, would you?
I am.
No way.
We guessed it that he might be in it.
Haven't seen him in a match in forever.
Our other prediction was that, I don't care, I'm going to call him TJ Hooker from now on, that TJ Hooker was going to be in this, but he was not.
Well, what isn't great, though, is Jerry Lawler coming to the ring and getting on the microphone to berate Jake Roberts, who isn't even there.
And hasn't been.
He's still being held by customs officials at the border with Canada, apparently. That's just a guess on my part. As we get a flashback to superstars from the past couple weeks, we get reminded of what has happened and why we're here. Mainly that Aldo fucking Montoya hit Lawler with a DDT to win a match, and therefore is wrestling now in Jake Roberts' honor. And with that, we head into our first match of the night. Jerry the King Lawler defeats Aldo Montoya by pinfall in 2 minutes and 34 seconds. And Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but Aldo Montoya is a former Jobber of the Week, isn't he?
He is indeed. Aldo Montoya was featured as our Jobber of the Week on our May 13th, 1996 episode of Wrasslin Raw. This is going to be Aldo's last match for quite some time on Raw that we're going to see him. After this, he's going to go on a bit of a losing streak to Crush.
Oh, Bruddah.
Thankfully, those are going to be mostly house shows and dark matches, so we're not going to have to bear witness, but that's what's going to happen to him.
Jesus.
Wow.
I don't even know what else to say about that. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. What's also absolutely terrible, and Joe, this made me think of you, Aldo Montoya is still getting pyro.
Yeah.
Those pinwheels.
Yeah.
What a waste of money. Had to get rid of the water coolers for that.
And it's good to see that Aldo is shaving his head now. He doesn't have that wispy, curly, pube-like hair sticking out above the jockstrap anymore. And, of course, Lawler has a bottle of Jim Beam there that he lays on the announce table.
Jake's tag team partner.
There's a lot of talking here in the ring leading up to this, which, of course, leads to some dirty wrestling to start things out. And man, after some time spent going through the usual kind of opening shit, there's a vertical suplex that Lawler puts on Aldo. Textbook, picture perfect in execution. I mean, you could look up that move in a dictionary and have a picture of Lawler performing it here in this match. So was that uppercut reversal from Montoya. And then a follow-up drop kick. That did not look bad from Aldo. There was a lot of slapping going on when working these punches, but if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't have seen it, and the sound effect for it was great. Finally, Lawler reverses Montoya into another textbook picture-perfect pile driver, and then a second one for good measure, getting the pin and the 3 count for the King. Keep in mind, this was a 2.5-minute match, but this isn't over yet. As the King maneuvers the beaten Montoya over to the ring apron, Jerry holds Montoya's head and pours in that bottle of Jim Beam. The stink of that whiskey is overwhelming. Lawler is yelling at Roberts through the camera. Vince and Jim were apoplectic on commentary, and we go to commercial to close out this segment. So, right up front, I want to say that the whole Jake Roberts angle with the whiskey, that whole shit was lame as hell. I have no interest in it whatsoever. I wish it would go away. But, with that being said, this 2.5-minute match was the best match I've seen out of either Lawler or Montoya since we've started this podcast. Ryan, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I was going into this, ready to just shit talk it to high heaven. And these two guys fucking performed. I mean, right from the bell. After we got done with King's mocking of Jake with the bottle, man, they started into it. I just kept on looking for it to go to shit. And by the time it ended, these guys put together a half-decent 2-minute match. I mean, there were, different parts of this match, things that maybe could have been better here or there. But yeah, very shocking. To talk about Aldo's headgear, does it look like it maybe changed slightly?
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit more like a mask and a little less like a jockstrap mask.
Yes.
So that's good for him. And Bartlett, you pointed out his shaved head, which he has, but you could also see a little bit of a goatee under that mask too. Yeah. So he's really starting to get that just incredible look going on. Plus, since the last time we've seen him, which has been a few months now, I think he might be hitting the juice. He's looking a little thicker. He's a little more ripped than he was a few months ago. Altogether, I think Aldo has picked it up. Maybe all those things together are why they decided to give him a little mini push here.
It's great that he's on the juice. It really is.
The juice push.
The juice is what's getting him going.
Along with that apple juice that was poured down his throat.
Yeah. Down his gullet. But yeah, that scene at the end was pretty hilarious. Pouring the whiskey, just humiliating him with his loss. And then JR and Vince just going way overboard. I think at one point, Vince screams out, "He's jamming that bottle down his throat."
Yes.
But yeah, super surprised and didn't expect the action that I got in the ring.
Well, can I ask you guys a question?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? Vince asked that question like 400 times during this episode. You know, the best part of this is that we got Jim Ross on commentary.
Yes.
Because Lawler's working a match. So that was great. I agree that the match was good. I still can't get into Aldo Montoya. I don't know. Like, they need to ditch the mask or something.
Bigger pyro.
Bigger pyro.
That's what's missing.
And Ryan, you failed to mention in your Jobber of the Week for Aldo Montoya that he was Jake Roberts' designated driver.
Oh.
So maybe we should go back and edit that.
I should maybe add that in.
Yeah. The match was fine, I thought. I didn't love it, but I mean, I didn't hate the match either. And but there's just so much shenanigans. Jerry Lawler's doing more of this like carny comedy shit, which I don't know. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't funny really to me. It was just like, whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah, enough said there, because we've got some important stuff coming up here that we need to talk about. We come back from that commercial break to see the New Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Leaf.
New and improved.
Yeah. They're in the ring, and Hillbilly Jim's music, with Hillbilly Jim coming down to join commentary. There's a little bit of chatter about the events that just transpired, but some weird shit starts to go down as we go straight into our next match. The Body Donnas, Skip and Zip, defeat the New Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Leif Cassidy, by disqualification in 8 minutes and 48 seconds. That weird shit that I mentioned is that the New Rockers, who, as I said, were already out to the ring, ran up the entryway to literally lay in wait for the Body Donnas, ambushing the Body Donnas as they came out from behind the curtain. They fight the whole way down the entryway. And Vince says that the Body Donnas got Pearl Harbored with a change of color on their tights. It must be spring because Marty Jannetty is regrowing his tassels. It's looking like the New Rockers are the heels that are going to be getting the Body Donnas over here tonight, and the New Rockers are working pretty well as a heel team. But just when I was about to make a comment about the officiating, or lack thereof, we got a split screen from Sonny and Farouk. Farouk still looks uncomfortable as hell. Sonny's promo here was really generic and fake. Farouk's promo was even worse, though. It barely made sense, and not in a good Sid kind of nonsense way. There is nothing about that pairing or that gimmick that is working, but the takeaway is that next week on Raw, Farouk will have his in-ring debut against Skip. Back in the ring, Leif Cassidy was selling the shit out of some nice knife-edge chops from Zip. Both teams were working hard to make this match look good, but a lot of what they were doing just wasn't flowing. It was looking really telegraphed. And then we got double split screen. The match in the ring was no longer something that we could look at. On one side, we had the Smoking Guns. On the other side, we had the Godwins, both tuning in to watch this match. Thank God somebody got to see it at this point. Phineas and Henry were funny. The Smoking Guns were just kind of sitting there being bland. Back in the ring, that chain move where the Rockers popped Skip up and dropped his head to the top rope looked pretty good. And so did that swinging neckbreaker at the outside. I liked it when Skip got his leg on the rope to break the pin, and in retaliation, Jannetty used that leg on the rope to attempt to injure Skip. That was a neat little spot. It was good to hear Hillbilly Jim say that Phineas has had a change, and that Phineas has promised that Phineas has seen the light when it comes to Sonny. That will no longer be an issue, supposedly. One can only hope. Once again, we got a split screen. This time it's Gorilla Monsoon, and I quote, "very reluctantly, immediately reinstating your client into active service." He's there talking to Clarence Mason. And he says this as if he can't just say no to bringing on somebody that spent time in
criminal
jail for weapons and drugs.
A question I have, is that the first time that we've been giving a hint that this is a former WWF star when he said reinstate?
I do believe so.
Yeah. Just gets us even more excited, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. The hair on the back of my neck is standing up.
Who could it be? Who could it possibly be? Is it gonna be Max Moon?
Anyone but Crush, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Bruddah? Okay.
The litter box is going to be overflowing. You're not going to want to step away from your TV.
Aldo's going to be upset over it.
But this newcomer, who is not yet named on TV, he will be under very close scrutiny. And Clarence Mason has his manager's license now. And Mason and this returning convict will be in action next week. Can't wait to see that. We cut to commercial, come back to more bullshit and weak officiating. They weren't even trying to fake the referee distraction anymore here. But when the Smoking Guns came out to interfere against the Body Donnas, the rules started to matter again, and we got the DQ and the victory for the Body Donnas. But then the Godwins come out to even the score, rescuing the Body Donnas, further signaling that they are to be looked at as babyfaces now. And Vince couldn't move away from this match fast enough, so after a little bit of discussion, let's do the same. Despite some hints and glimmers of decent work in the ring, this was a throwaway match to promote some kind of upcoming tag team something or other that wasn't really clearly discussed or defined, especially since I'm pretty sure we've only got 4 real tag teams in the WWF right now. By real, I mean not just 2 singles paired together. All 4 of those tag teams were in the ring here. Joe, what did you think of your boy Jannetty and the rest of this match?
You know, I really tried to pay attention to this match, guys, but there's just way too many distractions going on. I don't have much to say about my boy Jannetty, honestly. I mean, these guys were fucking high-fiving each other so many times. I was wondering, like, is that a tag? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. They're horrible, the new and improved Rockers. We get this Sonny and Farouk interview promo that was just awful. They actually looked more uncomfortable here than last week, I think. It's like getting worse. But I am somewhat looking forward to Farouk versus Skip next week, I suppose. I don't really remember Farouk in this gimmick as a wrestler. Like, I don't remember if he was like trying to work the gimmick or not, so hopefully not, but we'll see what happens. The promo itself too just came off as very scripted to me. Like he was just reading off a script. So not good. Absolutely no chemistry at all between Vince McMahon and Hillbilly Jim on commentary. I thought it was awful. Then we get the Gorilla Monsoon activating this man that we don't know who he is yet, Bruddah. So, yeah, not looking forward to that. Then we get all this fucking interference from these teams, Smoking Guns, Godwins. I don't know what's going on with the tag team division or who we should really care about or who the baby faces are or who the heels are. I don't know. It's just all so confusing and Bartlett, like you said, just throwaway.
I wish Vince at the beginning of this match would just come out and say, I can't stand tag teams. Because we do not pay attention. I don't think there are 2 consecutive minutes where we actually focus on this match. And there are times where, you know, maybe the chemistry between these 2 teams aren't the greatest, but there were some other times where it looked like things might have been picking up, and then we'd immediately cut to a double split screen, or Farouk and Sonny making fun of her fiancé. They just one interruption after another. And then when they ran out of people to go to in the backstage, they just zoom in on Hillbilly Bill or Hillbilly Jim and just say, fuck it. We'll zoom in on him instead of paying attention to this match. Thankfully, Leif Cassidy didn't slip on any baby oil. So, I mean, that's a plus in this match. But my God, just I've never seen a match that they tried harder to not pay attention to. When they cut to this, well, will be Crush, but
Bruddah.
Mysteriously unknown individual Crush.
Bruddah.
When they cut to that video, we come back and JR says that Mason got his manager license, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is that? I didn't even know I didn't even know a license was required to be a manager. I thought you just came out with someone and you were their manager.
Well, he has several licenses. He's an attorney. Now he's a manager.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, it's just a new one for me. I didn't know a license was needed. But thank you, JR, for filling us in on that tidbit. After that, more shenanigans. The smoking guns come down, cause a disqualification. The Godwins come down. Everyone's cheering for the Godwins and the Body Donnas. I mean, this match might not have been bad, but fuck if I would know. I mean, I didn't get to see hardly any of it.
Well, I think it's safe to say that I'm going to try to call him Hillbilly Bill from now on.
Hillbilly Crush.
He looked like a Bill to me.
Oh, man. Yeah, enough said about this fucking train wreck, the better. And like I said before, Vince McMahon was just really itching to get away from this quickly. So that leaves us needing to ask, what's more important than what we just saw? And the obvious answer is the ongoing persecution of Shawn Michaels. You'll remember that 2 weeks ago, Shawn Michaels got pinned by Vader in the headlining match at the International Incident pay-per-view. And then last week on Raw, Mankind orally violated Shawn with the mandible claw while Shawn was just innocently minding his own business watching a match from backstage. And then, lo and behold, Kevin fucking Kelly graces our screens.
Sight for sore eyes.
Yeah, man. I always liked Kevin Kelly and thought that he was great in his various roles here in the WWF. Kevin is there interviewing Shawn about the way Shawn is being victimized and starts off with a very leading question, asking if Shawn is feeling like his whole world is crumbling around him. God damn it.
Not leading at all.
Shawn thinks that that's a bit melodramatic, but that he's had his fair share of adversity, and when it comes right down to it, Shawn is no different than any other guy on the street. It just so happens that Shawn is a superstar in the WWF that creams Sonny's face on the regular. He's just a normal, everyday guy. Guys, there's no reason to think that he doesn't put on his assless chaps one leg at a time like the rest of us.
He seems to still have his smile in this, though. He's smiling a lot.
He does.
When you're smothering Sonny's face with cream on a regular basis, your world is not crumbling.
Well, no, that's what's bringing the smile to his face.
Yeah.
Crumbling. More like coming day and night. Shawn will be defending the title against Vader at SummerSlam, and Kevin Kelly drops some spicy tidbits about Shawn's potentially tainted victory over Bret Hart to win the championship. That's a reference to the Iron Man match oh so long ago. And to his credit, Shawn answers this pretty well, stating that the WWF without Bret Hart is like peanut butter without jelly, hoping that Bret Hart will return soon. We get a quick view of last Friday when the WWF was at the brand new Molson Center in Montreal, and then we're getting ready to move on in the program. But we have to pause here. It's been a while since we've had a focused look at the champion, Shawn Michaels. Joe, please, what did you think of this interview and the debut of Kevin Kelly on our screens?
Well, it's great to see Kevin Kelly, and this was a very generic and fake interview to me.
Yeah.
But it did, I mean, they were kind of trying to give it like that real sport feel. I feel like I was watching some interview with like Larry Bird or Michael Jordan back in the 90s. Like they're outside, the wind is blowing, and they're asking these stupid questions to Shawn. And Shawn is much like Bret Hart in many ways. And cutting a babyface promo or interview is a weakness for both of them, I think. And more teases about a Bret Hart return. That was interesting. But yeah, this was just pretty much generic and very fake feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind on this first shot, we see Shawn Michaels sitting on a bench that I can only assume is in a park or Niagara Falls, it looked like. But you were saying that this reminded you of like an interview with Larry Bird or something. To me, I kept on getting the vibe of a cheap late 90s, early 2000s, like infomercial for Extends or something where they're interviewing. Do you remember remember the one where they'd interview Ron Jeremy, and he was that was the vibe I got from this team.
Wow.
But
jeez.
You're absolutely right. Shawn Michaels just is not great with a babyface promo, and this goes on for way too long. If we could have cut this in half, it could have maybe been saved and at least just forgettable, but it just went on so long that its length, stood out, much like an Extends commercial.
It was on Extends. They are really missing the mark on this Shawn Michaels Vader buildup. It's just they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah, they really need to be doing a better job building up that match, because, to be honest with you, until you just said those words, I forgot that he was even wrestling him. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost a side note.
They're not doing themselves any favors comparing the upcoming match to the Iron Man match and the lead up to that Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart had. Joe, you had said about, this being kind of like a Larry Bird interview where you're sitting down with a sports star and kind of just getting some background on him or trying to get what's going on inside his mind. And that would be all well and good if Shawn Michaels had an opponent like Bret Hart. I mean, let's look back at the lead up to the Iron Man match where they had those nice vignettes, it was like a sports training type of vibe to it going into it. And everything was done really tastefully. Everything was done really well. And it really helped to build the atmosphere going into that match. But if we're trying to do that same thing here, like where my mind goes immediately after this is next we're going to have Kevin Kelly sitting down to interview Vader, and Kevin Kelly is going to be sitting there reading off of note cards like he was here, and Vader's going to be sitting there on a park bench just going, whoa, whoa.
Mastodonning it up.
Yeah, with the mask and the tights and, I'm not saying I necessarily have a better idea, but this just doesn't feel like the right way to build up to that confrontation.
As much as we want to talk about how much we liked the build up, the vignettes and stuff leading up to the Iron Man match between Shawn and Bret, let's not forget that is what brought Jose Lothario into the WWF.
Oh man.
So let's not give it too much credit now.
Very true. Very true. And like a bad case of something, we haven't been able to get rid of him since. Well, guys, one of you had asked earlier, if we had this interview cut in half, that would have been so much better. Because I agree, if we would have had this interview cut in half, we would have maybe had more time to spend in our final match of the night. Ahmed Johnson wins the 11-man Battle Royal in 16 minutes and 3 seconds. Whew. This one sure was a fucking barn burner. Just to get it out of the way up front here so that our fans know what we're talking about and to just kind of lay out the pace of things, I'm going to list the participants and who eliminates who in the order of their elimination before moving on to my notes from the match. So, starting off in order, Mankind and The Undertaker eliminated each other. The British Bulldog gets eliminated by Ahmed Johnson. Justin Hawk Bradshaw gets eliminated by Psycho Sid. Owen Hart gets eliminated by the Mild Man, Mark Marrow. Mark Marrow gets eliminated by Goldust. Savio Vega eliminates himself. Psycho Sid was eliminated by Steve Austin. Steve Austin was eliminated by Ahmed Johnson and Goldust. And finally, Goldust was eliminated by Ahmed Johnson. We come to this match with almost everyone out at ringside, waiting to enter the ring with only a couple of entrances left. Ahmed Johnson, despite his lacerated liver or kidneys or what the fuck ever it was, he's present here in the arena and going to be fighting against doctor's orders. The Undertaker is the last to come out, and he makes a fucking beeline for Mankind, both meeting each other in the ring before the bell even rings, both going over the top rope and fighting out of the arena. The actual match time for the two of them was 9 seconds. That's how long they lasted in this battle royale, and just what a great way to keep a story going. But with so much going on in the ring and so many people killing time there, for example, Sid holding Owen by the neck for a full minute in the corner, not doing anything, It's hard to pay attention to who's doing what. What does sex have to do with Monday Night Raw? A wise man has asked us in the past. The answer to that is nothing, but the free-for-all, on the other hand, that's a different story, guys, as the free-for-all leading into SummerSlam will have the Bikini Beach Blast-Off. We get a split-screen graphic of a filled-out cartoon bikini, and Sable and Sonny and Marlena have all been invited.
Sounds like we'll all be blasting.
Ugh. Austin working with Sid looked not too bad there. Mero working with Owen Hart looked fucking terrible, and it pains me to say that. We break to commercial to get the Stridex biggest slam of the week, the slam being the British Bulldog power slamming Savio Vega on Superstars. But the real highlight there was Owen Hart, who was apparently on commentary for that match, calling Savio Vega an idiot for running his head into Jim Cornette's racket. Very casually and professionally, I might add. When Mero was eliminated, I got a chuckle out of Jim Ross saying that Mero won't be hitting the pay window tonight.
No cheese on that Whopper.
And then a view of Mankind and The Undertaker fighting in the crowd. That was a nice little aside as they get over the barrier and then back across the barrier into the crowd and off again. Frankly, there wasn't a whole lot going on in the ring that was too interesting to me at all. It was funny to see Goldust protecting himself during the spinebuster from Ahmed Johnson. I don't know if either of you guys noticed that, but Ahmed delivering the spinebuster to Goldust looked very awkward, and that was because Goldust realized he wasn't going down on the flat of his back, and he adjusted things to make sure that he was safe. I can only assume that Ahmed was just getting a little too ahead of himself and working a little too fast there. Also, before that commercial break, there was a quick view of The Undertaker and Mankind fighting in what looked like a loading dock of some kind. Back in the ring, Goldust was barely able to hit the curtain call on Ahmed Johnson. It looked like Ahmed was just a little too beefy for old Goldust to pick up and perform that move. And then more footage from backstage. The Undertaker and Mankind. I loved Jim Ross calling The Undertaker rabid, but I didn't love Vince McMahon saying, "Take a look at this, look at this, look at this." And then The Undertaker very gingerly body slamming Mankind onto some kind of metal sheeting. It was very underwhelming the way that Vince was trying to build up some of these moments, and it made me realize that Vince McMahon's obnoxious promoter personality just is not the right voice to be calling Undertaker and Mankind, whereas Jim Ross is the perfect kind of emotional commentating for that kind of a conflict. We get the news that next week on Raw, we'll get a match between Shawn Michaels and Owen Hart. That ought to be good. The Bulldog and Owen Hart distracting Sid and getting him eliminated was out of nowhere. There was a hint that Sid might be taking on the Bulldog next week, but I'm not sure if that was confirmed or not. I laughed at Vince copying Jim Ross's, quote, "no honor among thieves" line right after Jim said it. That kick to Austin's ribs from Ahmed Johnson looked stiff as hell. Ahmed Johnson was pouring sweat by the end of this, not surprising with the ruptured kidney and broken nose that was highlighted multiple times that this man's apparently suffering from here. And that pile driver from Goldust on Ahmed was the absolute shits. It looked fucking terrible. I have a strong suspicion that that's because Goldust needed to protect Ahmed in it. Finally, Goldust goes out, and Ahmed Johnson is left as the victor. Vince climbs into the ring to interview Ahmed. Vince mentions the broken nose, while Jim mentions kidneys that are bruised now instead of lacerated. Ahmed does pretty well here. He wasn't too blown up, and gives us a good line about how bittersweet it would be to face Shawn Michaels for the title, but a rager if it's Vader. And then out of nowhere, Farouk hits the ring, officials flood the place, it's a pull apart, and we fade to black. Ryan, please, what did you think of this Battle Royale and the way that the episode of Raw ended tonight?
I really loved how it started. Having The Undertaker, He doesn't even care about his entrance. Right out of the gate, just runs for the ring, starts beating on Mankind. They both go out. He doesn't give two fucks about his chance at the belt here. It was as if the only reason he entered this match was because he knew Mankind was in it and he'd have a chance to get at him. I loved the way they kept that story going here, and also the way that became the highlight for me during this whole match was our continuously showing us what Undertaker and Mankind are doing, because after they work themselves out the entrance, which I have to bring up, did you guys notice how awkward it is for people to get in this new Raw entrance through the words Raw?
Yeah.
Especially Mankind and Undertaker, when they were trying to fight their way up the ramp, and then they got to this narrow entrance and they had to just kind of like awkwardly squeeze themselves through to continue their fight. So that was a little bit odd. But as far as what they're doing with their story, that's great. Unfortunately, after that happened, I realized that I was going to have to watch the rest of this Battle Royale. And I've mentioned on multiple occasions that this is probably my most hated type of match. And it followed every reason as to why I hate them here. Just boring as all fuck. When you have that many people in the ring, you just can't pay attention to anyone. And then if you do try to, you catch a moment like you mentioned, Bartlett, two guys just wasting time for 2 minutes because they think, well, there's 20 other people in the ring. No one's fucking paying attention to me, which they're probably correct. I don't know why these type of matches ever really became a thing, because live on television, like in no fashion are they entertaining to watch, in my opinion. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I don't see anything redeemable in battle royales like this. I know when we did the Royal Rumble, we talked about how they're at least coming out staggered, and sometimes you only get a few people in the ring. But when you have one of these where everyone starts out in the ring, just fuck off. I don't want to see it. And then again, as I said at the top here, we go to see Mankind and Undertaker. They fight their way back into the ring, then out of the ring again, into the crowd, all over the fucking arena. I'm maybe even in a boiler room somewhere. At one point, Vince, I think it was when Undertaker slammed Mankind onto that steel sheeting, and Vince says that this isn't a boiler room, but you could just imagine what's going to happen in the boiler room.
Jeez.
And then we come back, and the end of this match wasn't terrible. When we got down to Stone Cold, Goldust, and Ahmed in the ring, things picked up and they looked a little bit better. It's just, my major problem is all of the time we had to waste to finally get to the ending. I have no problem with how things ended here. It's just the hour and 15 minutes it took to get there. Vince's interview with Johnson in the ring, agree that Johnson did a pretty solid job, especially for coming out of such a lengthy match. He was able to give a pretty good promo, and then having it end on this breakup, kind of standard stuff, but I have no problem with it. That was fine too. Just please, I don't want any more battle royales.
My opinion on battle royales is, I guess the positive things about them is you can sort of tell like some side stories within them. Mm-hmm. This one in particular had the Undertaker Mankind thing going. They did a little thing with Sid and the Bulldog. One guy gets eliminated by another guy, and then they start beating the hell out of each other type of thing. So, I mean, that's like the only positive thing. One of the things I really dislike about them is it sticks out like a sore thumb when two guys are in the corner of the ring and it's like that struggle to get the guy over the top. It just looks so fake to me, and it's just, you can't not see it.
Mm-hmm. It just looks so forced.
Yeah, there's like 14, 15 other guys in the ring, but there's just no way you cannot see that. That's one of the things that bothers me the most about these. I thought that the finish was pretty clever. I thought that both guys flipping over the rope, Goldust and Ahmed Johnson, and then Ahmed catches himself and doesn't hit the floor. I thought that was a pretty clever ending. I thought that Savio's elimination of himself, I thought was a little clever. That was a little different. I mean, Savio's not going to win it, right? So you might as well do something different. But I'm with you, Ryan. I really love this Undertaker Mankind stuff. When they left the ring area, I thought to myself, oh, great, we're going to get this fucking boiler room shit, and Vince is going to be annoying. But we did it. They came into the crowd, which I thought was awesome. There's like these kids patting Undertaker on the back, encouraging him to beat the living hell out of Mankind. Like, that had to be like the highlight of their life.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Just watching Mankind run away from the Undertaker is so entertaining to me. It's fucking hilarious. So yeah, that whole thing with them, I thought was great, and just continues that story that we all know is just amazing.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The way that they are keeping that going is fucking amazing. And Joe, I absolutely agree with your point about potentially building small stories here in the ring with Battle Royale format matches. I'm not quite as down on them as you are, Ryan, but something like this, I'm more annoyed with the fact that it almost highlights those awkward moments, like Joe, like you saying, the lifting the guy up in the corner. You know, it's almost like there needs to be some kind of cartoon sound effect, like whoop 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 whoop.
Right,
getting ready to go over, or like a Todd Pettingzoo voiceover.
It's especially bad when there's like three guys trying to push one guy over. It's like, come on, like we all know that guy would be flipped over easily. But yeah, it's like the struggle is always just so fake looking.
Well, as I said, that is how our episode ended. So let's take it on over now to highlights and lowlights. Joe, please, why don't you go first?
My highlight is going to be the Undertaker Mankind battle during the Battle Royale. That's my highlight. My lowlight is going to be that tag team match and everything around it. Just all the distractions and just not giving a shit about several different tag teams involved here. So that is my lowlight.
My highlight is the same as yours, Joe, the storytelling between Undertaker and Mankind. Just the way they're keeping this going and the way that these two are working it, it's perfect. Low light, I think if you just heard me, this is no shock, the Battle Royale outside of the Undertaker Mankind stuff. This did nothing to change my hatred of them and did everything to enforce it.
Well, my low light, the tag match, so lame, even though they are kind of slowly improving the tag team division. I mean, not enormously. We're still doing baby steps here, but they are climbing upwards from what is admittedly a pretty low standard. But yeah, just it almost felt like this was 3 steps back. My highlight, and this is my highlight because I never thought I would ever be able to say it, and I will probably never be able to say it again. Lawler and Montoya.
Whoa.
I was pleasantly surprised by the work in the ring. Despite the whole Jake Roberts angle to it, it was a pretty good little match. And like I said, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to drop those names in a highlight because when will it ever happen again?
Bartlett, would you like me to return your gift to me of the signed Aldo?
Jeez.
Just, I mean, you're gushing over him.
That was pure gushing.
I don't want to, hold that from you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My just reading that as my highlight, my desk looks like Sonny's face now. So yeah, the answer is yes. I want it back.
Okay.
You asshole.
It's in the mail.
Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around August 5th, 1996 for us?
There's not a lot going on, guys. One thing to note is that Jeff Jarrett has been working in the USWA, but he recently quit and will be headed to WCW. Huh. So I don't think we'll be seeing Jeff Jarrett for a while. This Ahmed Johnson stuff has me a little confused, but I guess we'll find out what happens as far as his health goes. I guess he's having surgery on August 12th. Dave Meltzer is reporting that the Ahmed Johnson versus Farouk match is going to be scrapped.
Yeah.
But Ahmed has a match against, doesn't he have a title match now for winning that battle royale? Isn't that what
supposed to? But that's supposed to be after the
SummerSlam?
The Monday after though. So if that match is going to be scrapped,
the Raw that follows SummerSlam.
Okay, so maybe he'll be back by then. I don't know. It almost like when they talk about it on the show, it sounds like it's not a real injury, but I guess maybe he does have a legitimate injury where he's getting surgery. So we'll see what happens there. He's the current IC title holder, so we'll see what happens. Last piece of news here is Dave Meltzer's reporting that the 1-2-3 Kid is getting set to debut with WCW soon, possibly this week, but I think he shows up a little bit later, if I remember correctly. And that is all. So I guess, one last time, rest in peace, Scott Hall. Thank you for all the memories. And what else can you say? Thank you.
Yeah.
Very sad day.
And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on August 12th, 1996, with matches featuring Farouk Assad, who, that being WHO with a question mark, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.